This is Joe Spar, the school psychologist with the Eastern Upper Peninsula Intermediate School District, here to talk to you today about the new crisis response process that we'll be using from now until school is back in session with face-to-face instruction. For a couple of years now, the EUP has utilized the crisis response process based on the National Association of School Psychologists PREPARE model. As part of this process, whenever there's a significant event within a district, such as a student death or a natural disaster, the district superintendent contacts the ISD superintendent, and then a team is mobilized consisting of mental health professionals from the ISD, local school districts, and partnering community agencies. That team comes in and helps provide support throughout the crisis. Even though face-to-face instruction in Michigan has been canceled for the rest of the 2019-2020 school year, we still see a crisis response process as being extremely valuable and important. So we're going to continue offering it remotely using technology. Because we're going to be doing this remotely, there are a few roles and responsibilities from the existing process that need to be different. Since we can't physically come to the school building after the crisis, we're taking an approach that is very deliberately both universal and targeted in nature. Our supports are offered universally in the sense that any students, parents, or staff members who have been affected by the crisis and feel like they may need support are able to contact us for free. Our approach is targeted in nature in the sense that you're going to help us come up with a list of individuals who may be at a higher risk following the crisis, and we will reach out to them directly. In order for the crisis response process to operate efficiently and effectively, it's important to have a good communication system. This graph shows the communication hierarchy that takes place when we respond to a crisis. As a district superintendent, your first contact is going to be to the ISD superintendent. The ISD superintendent will get the ball rolling, and soon enough, you'll have an entire team mobilized to help you respond to the crisis. Throughout the day, your primary contact for troubleshooting issues is going to be the lead organizer. I'll talk about what each of these roles do in just a moment. Each member of the crisis response team has a set of roles and responsibilities that they'll be fulfilling throughout the crisis response process. Your first point of contact is the ISD superintendent. The ISD superintendent will ask you a series of questions about the crisis and then contact the regional team leader with directions to begin assembling a team. The regional team leader will send out a message to all team members with information about the crisis, then determine who is available to respond and assign personnel accordingly. The lead organizer will get in touch with the crisis facilitator to make sure that all the technology is set up and working properly. Then, the lead organizer will provide the crisis facilitator with the list of names that you came up with that identifies who may be particularly vulnerable following the crisis. The lead organizer will also help you to communicate with families and community members by sharing guidance on what sort of messaging you can send out through your existing school messenger systems. The lead organizer throughout the day will communicate with the crisis facilitator, regional team leader, and with you to help troubleshoot issues, provide guidance, and delegate responsibilities. At the end of each day, the lead organizer will guide a debrief where the process is discussed and individuals in need of follow-up support are identified. Lastly, 1 week after the crisis event, the lead organizer will guide an evaluation of the process where we can refine the process and make improvements for next time based on your feedback. The crisis facilitator is essentially the person who directs traffic by operating the phones and managing the Zoom software. The crisis facilitator will manage the Zoom meetings and assign individuals who connect to Zoom into breakout rooms. The crisis facilitator will also receive phone calls from individuals who don't have internet access and then forward them to available crisis counselors. The crisis facilitator manages that list of individuals that you've identified as being particularly vulnerable and delegates crisis counselors to contact those individuals directly. The crisis facilitator throughout the day will be communicating with the lead organizer as well as the individual crisis counselors. The role of the crisis counselor is to meet with students, parents, and staff members individually for one-on-one crisis counseling or psychoeducation, or they can meet as part of groups for individuals who want to process with their friends or family members. The crisis counselors will also be documenting the findings from their meetings with individuals, and that documentation will be provided to the crisis facilitator, so that way follow-up and referrals can be made as needed. This process is especially important in an unprecedented time in our history like this. Children and families are already feeling isolated and stressed out, so why not utilize a team of mental health professionals that want to help in the event of a crisis where children and families need support in order to cope? There's also something to be said for the preventative effect of having a crisis response team come in. An appropriate response in the immediate aftermath of a crisis can prevent a domino effect of negative outcomes. Lastly, there's something to be said for the perspective that we can provide after a crisis. Crises can deeply affect those involved on a personal level, often clouding their judgment and their ability to respond rationally. We are a team of well-trained and experienced mental health professionals who are very familiar with best practices in crisis response, and we can provide a second set of eyes to help you navigate this crisis methodically and in accordance with best practices. Now that you understand the how and the why behind our process, let's talk very simply about what it is that you as a school administrator are going to do if there is a crisis event in your school community. Your very first step is to contact the ISD superintendent, who is going to ask you a few questions about the details of the event. Those questions are shown here on this slide. Shortly after that, the lead organizer will be in touch with you to provide you with a form letter that can be sent out to your families using your school messenger system. Throughout the day, your point of contact will be the lead organizer, who will be in touch with you to help you guide your crisis response in accordance with best practices. If you have any questions about this process, feel free to email me. My email is jspar@eupschools.org. Thank you.